Well, woe is me. I was going great guns with this self-portrait using the Zorn palette, stopped to mix some colours and obviously didn't press the restart, so you missed loads. Things started to happen. Anyway, here's my setup. I'm in the studio, a nice reassuring sound of running water, not the fish tank but a leaking pipe. I've got an A6, a postcard size canvas board, and I'm going to demonstrate working with the Zorn palette on a self-portrait from life. You may have a model or be doing a self-portrait, or maybe you've got some images to work from. So I'm just to show you I'm set up. I've got an easel, a mirror behind. You won't, as I film the painting, you won't see the mirror, but that shouldn't matter, I don't think. You'll see the painting develop. Here's my palette. So I've got my Zorn 4 colours, titanium white, yellow ochre, cadmium red and ivory black. You'll see I've made a series of warm tones. What have I got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, up to the lightest one. The one in the middle there, I've added a bit of black to it. So it's one of the warm tones with more black to cool it down. Then I've made some greys at the bottom for hair, a black because I'm wearing a black jacket, and also some orange because I'm wearing an orange jacket, because I think it's quite good somewhere within a Zorn composition to have some warm colour, some red, some orange, because that's going to be a good opportunity for some saturated colour. So firstly, I didn't point this one out, sorry, this is just a grey. I added some yellow and white with a tiny bit of black. So this is so that I'm painting into a wet surface. Whoops, that brush isn't clean, or something's picked up something from somewhere, maybe from the easel. So I'm painting into a wet surface with this grey. It's at the bottom. Okay, so with my darkest brown, which is the cadmium red and the cadmium red and the yellow ochre and the black. Also, I'm using a size 12 hog hair brush. This is quite worn, but it means I can turn it on its side to do thin lines, or the other way to do broader strokes. And I'm going for a slightly angled head. So I'm starting with that, with the brown, and I'm using the side of the brush because I just want to draw out a few shapes to find where features are. I'm going for a bit of an angle. And you see, because I'm painting into the wet, that is softened by the mixing of the darker colour with the wet surface, and I think that's a really helpful way in. So I'm just looking to sort of plot where, particularly where the dark shapes are. So I've got dark shapes for eyes and eyebrows, dark hair at the top, a plane at the lower part of the nose, and then maybe a top lip and a shadow below the lower lip, just to construct some of those sort of landmarks. And of course you see, I don't know how well you see that, but what's on the tip of the brush now, that's not dark paint anymore. It's mixed with the lighter paint on the surface. So I can do, quieter things with what's on there and make some changes. So and there's a bit of dark left, so I might just get in some dark colour. So then I clean my brush and I dry my brush, because all of these colours that I showed you I prepared, I have mixed in the medium, that's the oil and the linseed oil and the terps. So now I've got my first sort of darkish warm skin tone, and I'm going to get that just across a lot of the face actually. And you know, if I look with my eyes half closed, I've got a shadowier side on the left, but really I'm just getting a bit of warmth now into this face area. And again, it's mixing, so that's okay, because it's giving me a slightly more subtle effect. So that's just really getting some warmth in. The colours, I've mixed plenty of colours so that I can work the paint on the surface, and I'm doing everything with the big brush. So now there's something just a little bit more colourful, and I'm seeing really between the light areas and the shadow on my face, I think that's where there's a little bit more colour. I'm just topping that up slightly. And I think I'll go back to the one that I used before, because I mustn't leave the eyes behind. I'm just putting a bit of warmth on these eyelids. A bit of warmth back in the ear. So this is very much a provisional start. Working right into wet, letting things soften along the way, and then I'll go next to this lightest colour that I've prepared. I may go lighter still than this, but at the moment this is my lightest tone, and I'm putting it where I see light, the usual places, the cheekbone, the front of the nose. And to get that plane on the front of the nose, I'm turning my brush to the side. And I've got a bit on the chin, a bit above the top lip. So this is just really getting a bit of warm colour into the face. And then next I will use some of my hair colours. I think, well actually what I did with I'll do what I did last time, because it was quite helpful. I've made a black, as I said I'm wearing a black collar, and because everything has been very soft and grey, it's quite useful to then introduce some stronger contrast. So that's the tonal contrast, that's the dark of the black. And also I've put on this orange jacket. I think it's probably quite good to get in some of that stronger colour as well, so that when I come to the face, it's sort of accompanied by more contrast now. Having started softly, I can push things a bit further. So that was all done with the number 12 brush. I'm now going to do something with the number 2 brush. It's not in a great state, this brush, but it's a long handled hog hair brush, and I'm going to use that now. I've made a dark yellowy grey for hair, and I'm going to start darkening some of the areas of hair up here. I don't know about my proportions, eyes there, eyebrows. I might have made the forehead a bit too big. Bring that in a bit. So the dark that I used for dark areas of hair, I can let that mix a bit. So this is a lot cooler, it's a kind of grey, and I can use that in the lighter parts of hair. And if I top it up, so again I should either wipe my brush, if you're using a small brush and not much paint, you don't have to clean it in the white spirit, you can just wipe the brush on a rag. But what I've used in hair, I'm going to now use in the eyebrows. And then I'm going. My phone suddenly stopped there. Would you believe it? Let's hope this is going to work. Right, just keep going. So I was just about to, can you imagine? I was just about to place my eyes and the phone decides to update. So I was putting in the eyebrows. For eyes, I'm just going to make a dark shape. I want to kind of place pupil and iris because my head's angled. They're on this axis. And again, it's nice to work into the wet paint because it means nothing is too definite. And I might also put something of the same darkness just for the opening of the nostrils. And I think for the line between the top and lower lip, I don't know if I'm going to have an open mouth. That's something like that. So just introduce some darker accents to that face. So next what I'm going to do is try out some of these shadow colours. Well, there's a shadow colour. So I started with a fairly warm mid-tone, and there's a version of that I'd added just some black to actually, I think. Maybe a bit of yellow. And it's giving it that slightly sort of greener, cooler effect. So I'm now just really going to start to find some of these shadow planes, some on the chin as well, under the lower lip, under the tip of the nose as well, to help that stand out, and then particularly on the inside of the eyes. So again, what's on the end of my brush is mixing with the wet paint. So if I want to keep those shadows dark, I've got to keep topping up what I've put on the brush. So it's being aware of what's on the tip of your brush. And some of that could definitely go into the bridge of the nose there. And maybe a little bit of it in the ear. So everything is still fairly soft here, which is quite nice really, and it's all held together by the wet underpainting. Now I could just do a little bit of tidying up around the outside because I changed the height of, maybe this doesn't matter, I don't know, but I just thought I would get rid of some of that edge up there. No, that's maybe not a good idea. Does that make the head too small? Anyway, I know how I did it, so I can take it off again. It's just to show that I can cut in with some of the background colour. That didn't make a lot of difference, but the other thing that I've mixed that I haven't used yet is now a much warmer dark, sort of, it's a warmer dark, and I can certainly see that in my ears. Don't make them too big. And I want to use that as well. I'm expecting to use that in the around the eyes, because I want to get a bit more modelling of the top of the eyelid. And I don't know if that's too colourful. So I think I think that's okay. What I particularly like about this whole palette is that, if colours are wrong, because everything is so sort of unified, you can usually work out how to change them. They're too hot, they're too cold, they're too light, they're too dark. And you add the white to make them lighter, you add the black to make them darker, you add the red and yellow to warm them up. Now what I've worked in some of that line of the eyelid. I think I've got to repaint the eyelid, but that's okay. What's on the end of my brush isn't such a clean colour now, so I'm going to use some of that, I think here at the tip of the nose. I think I want to get some warmth to the tip of the nose. Help that stand out. And I might even use some of this in the top lip. I haven't made a colour for the mouth yet, but it'd be good just to try some of them out. And I think that shows that these colours are not so far away from each other. Now what I want to do, I think I need a lot more of the mid colour that I started with. So I'm going back to the big brush, and I think this is a good process to start off with a big brush, but then gradually begin to move back and forth between bigger, broader strokes with the big brush and smaller adjustments with the small brush. And that means that you don't get too bogged down in detail. And what I'm trying to do now is gradually advance the contrast. And because some of those first colours I put down mixed with the wet paint, I've got to come back to them and strengthen them. And that means as well I probably need to strengthen the shadow colours. So just making some slightly darker shadow. And in fact what I've done is I've used some of my hair colour to... That's a bit strong, isn't it? I don't think it is actually. No, let's just go with... So I'm using the same colour in the eyebrows just to strengthen some of these shadows, to deepen them. And the nose has disappeared, so I probably need a much warmer dark in the openings of the nostrils. And then I'm going to strengthen this neck again. So you might see that what I'm doing is, because the paint loses its edge when it mixes with wet paint, there are other places I can use that slightly modified colour. Right, so I really need to sort of pause and have a look at it and think about it. So I'm going to pause it in a moment, but I think the main thing I've got to do is make sure that I get rid of these bare areas. I'd like to put back the eyelids, which I'll just do now. And I would also like to make some more specific colour for the mouth. So I think it's that lid there I want to get back. So when I've got that colour, I can just warm a few things up. As I was saying, it's often between the light and dark you want to get that. Sometimes around the edge as well, to bridge the lighter colour on the face with the darker colour of the hair. It sometimes helps to get some more colour. Okay, let's pause while I have a think. So I'm going to work a bit with the mouth, and I made some more background colour, and I want to lose the gaps as well. So for the mouth, for a top lip, I've mixed mainly red, black and white. I haven't decided whether to leave the mouth open yet. I'm just really trying out the colour. And for the lower lip, I'll put some of that into the lower lip first, I think, and then I'll get the lighter colour. I've got something a bit too rosy, I think. Yes, lipstick, never mind, but it's good to try these out and then see how they look and then knock them back. But I've actually made a lighter colour as well, so it may be that warmth has got a place. Let's see. Anyway, so I'd also made a bit more of the colour I started with, the ground, and I want to work with the background again. And I think this is a thing well worth considering. You paint away and you forget about the effect of the background, and if you're getting a bit stuck with colour, adjusting the background is worth doing. And also, of course, this is looking at the negative shape. So there may be things to do with, in this case, the head that you're painting. You can't quite work out what's wrong, and just by shifting the background and looking at the way your subject is influenced by the background can make all the difference. So I've made a similar mixture of white with a bit of yellow and a little bit of black, but this time I seem to have a bit more yellow in it, and I think that's quite helpful. So the process, I feel, for me slows right down now. I would like to fill in those bits that aren't filled in. And what will I do that with? Oh, something just a bit in between. Yeah, so for example, under the eyes here, just want to get rid of some of those bits of grey. That's a bit better, okay. And I think what I want to do, the nose isn't very good. The nose needs a lot more modelling. I could also darken those eyes a lot. And yeah, what was I thinking? Yes, and I could also get a bit lighter. So let's do that. Let's start with the eyes. So because the dark emphasis I've been applying gets softened, I can just keep going back with the same colour. Darken the centre of those eyes a lot more. And then there are places, parts of the eyebrows, that need to be kind of topped up. Some of the hair. There's very small changes can make quite a difference. I haven't really decided what to do about this mouth, have I? So I'll leave it a bit open, a little bit gawping. And I want to strengthen under the chin there. So I think now in a way I'm looking a little bit more at the drawing because reintroducing some of these darks is in a way it's the equivalent of drawing with paint, because these are the bits of definition that make things stand out. What else? I had another red, which was for the mouth, but I thought might have a place in the ear. I wondered about that. But yeah, I'm curious to also see if I can put a lighter colour on. It's been raining and the sun's come out a bit now, so there's a bit more light in the room. So I'll pause just while I make one more lighter tone to see if it would fit or not. So just as an experiment, really, I've made up a much lighter, highlight colour. Really, there are places at the top of my forehead which are catching the light, and I just want to try out an even paler colour. And this could be some on the nose here. Get it in the right place. So yeah, I think that's worth having. But what I really enjoy about this limited palette is that if I did something like this and it was too strong, I could either work it in or just take it off again. So it's just one or two places where that will go. It might be matched in the mouth. A light on the lower lip, I would think. And then I was going to see about a little bit more warmth in the cheeks. So I've made some new redder mid-tones. They might go quite well in the ear. That's okay, but actually it's a bit strong for the rest of the painting. I might use the smaller brush, get some of those into the nose. I'm saying it's a bit strong because I don't want to sort of throw everything and have to make a new set of colours. Unless I thought that was, a really essential thing to do. I want to try and stay within the range that I've been working with. So if I was to up the colour slightly, I have got some prepared. This is a slightly more orangey. So I could lift the colour a little bit in a few places, like that. And then I think I've really got to look at shadows and bringing out this nose. And I've got to go back to some of my shadow colours, I think. Particularly for the nose. Some of the lines of the face. I also thought I was going to have already thought about darkening the nostril. Outside of the eye. So I have to say, I'm coming to not so much to a conclusion, but certainly I don't feel I can do much more at the moment. I need to leave this painting for a while and look at it. And so I think the best thing I can do in terms of a lesson is just say what else I need to do, but not necessarily do it. So just slightly darkening the... So I've used the same kind of warmer black, really, that's in the clothing, just to warm up that nostril. But I mean, I do have a fine nose, and I should really do more to bring that out. And it's particularly trying to get the tip as a rounder shape. So there's work to do on that. So yes, I think I'm going to stop there. I hope that's been useful. I've been working with a self-portrait, but using the Zorn palette, and it is just great to be great to have this relatively easy to control set of colours and to apply them to, not to a transcription, but to a real face in front of you. So you might work with a self-portrait, or you may have a model, or otherwise you might use some photographic reference. I wouldn't work too big. Working wet in wet is definitely to be encouraged. I was doing A6. I'm doing silly things now, so stop. I was working on A6, a sort of postcard size, and wetting the surface using a reasonably big brush to get started, pre-mixing the colours, and then going as far as possible. So if I was to go further, I need to do more to this mouth. I need to shape the mouth, bring out the tip of the nose, and just refine the eyes a little bit. They're a little bit uncertain. It's helped that I've got that strong sort of dark shape, but I've not really addressed the lower lids or the shadows below the lower lid. There could be a bit more form here that I could develop further. Okay, so I'll stop there because it's been a roller coaster ride, and look forward to seeing what you plan to do.